Imagine this. A trapper walks into the vast open tundra, then vanishes. No tracks, no struggle, just gone. The Northwest Mounted Police? They filed the report as death by exposure. Case closed, right? But the Dene elders, they had a different story, one passed down through generations. To them, he was taken by the Bushman. Same event, wildly different explanations. Doesn't that just make you wonder? Tonight, we're not just looking at cold cases. We're traveling across three hauntingly beautiful, yet undeniably mysterious Canadian landscapes. We'll explore places where the official record says case closed, yet local storytellers, particularly Indigenous communities, have kept the files wide open, offering explanations that run far deeper than any police report. Each of these mysteries might look like a sensational headline, a mere curiosity, until you dig a little deeper, moving past the sterile facts and into the rich, vibrant footnotes of forgotten folklore. And that's where the real story begins, isn't it? Because in Canada's vast wilderness, some truths aren't written in ledgers, but whispered around campfires, woven into the very fabric of the land. Mystery number 1, Nahanni's Headless Valley. Let's start with a name that sends shivers down your spine, the Valley of the Headless Men. Sounds like something out of a horror novel, doesn't it? But for the Nahanni region of the Northwest Territories, it's a chilling reality. The story really kicks off in 1905, when two brothers, Willie and Frank McLeod, Métis prospectors, ventured deep into the South Nahanni River Valley, lured by the promise of gold. 6 months later, a Mountie patrol found their camp, but not the brothers themselves. Instead, they discovered 2 headless skeletons beside a half-built cabin. One brother lay with an arm outstretched towards his gun, blankets thrown as if he'd been startled from sleep. The sheer brutality, the missing heads, it was baffling. Over the next 40 years, the valley earned its grim nickname. 9 more prospectors lost their heads or simply vanished without a trace within the same 40-mile stretch of treacherous canyon.
Newspapers, quick to sensationalize, blamed hostile natives. Court records, ever pragmatic, cited accidents or the harsh, unforgiving wilderness. But the Indigenous Dene people, whose ancestral lands these are, they tell a much older, far more profound tale. They speak of Naneke, a towering wild man, covered in coarse black hair, whose voice echoes on the winter wind like a cracked log. Naneke, they say, isn't just a monster, he's a guardian. He fiercely protects the sacred hot springs in the valley, which are believed to be the entrance to the spirit world. For the Dene and many First Nations, hot springs are revered as spiritual sites, places of healing and rejuvenation, even gifts from the gods. So anyone who dares to trespass, who seeks to pull yellow metal, gold, from that doorway, disrespecting the land and its spiritual significance, well, they forfeit their own head. The descriptions of Naneke's presence are eerily consistent. Large, barefoot prints melted into the permafrost. Campfires that are heard crackling in the distance, but never actually seen. And a distinct, sulfurous smell that seems to precede a person's disappearance. It's almost as if the valley itself is warning you. The Nahanni region is incredibly remote, a blend of towering, icy mountains and lush river bottoms fed by hundreds of hot springs, creating a sulfuric mist, an eerie, otherworld persona. The Dene themselves traditionally gave the valley a wide berth, believing it to be pervaded by bad medicine or a malevolent supernatural presence. Even today, the valley carries the name Dead Men on modern maps, a stark reminder of its dark history. But in the old tongue, it's simply called the place where the head stays. It makes you wonder, doesn't it? Did these prospectors truly fall victim to fellow man, or did they disturb something ancient, something that demanded a far greater price than gold. Mystery number 2, Anjikuni Lake's empty village. Now let's journey north, far north, to November 1930. 30 miles north of the tree line, in what is now Nunavut, a seasoned trapper named Joe LaBelle was making his rounds. He was heading for a familiar Inuit settlement near Anjikuni Lake, a place he knew well, a welcome stop in the unforgiving Arctic. But what he found there would haunt him, and many others, for decades.
He staggered into the settlement, home to roughly 40 people, expecting the usual warm welcome. Instead, he found an unsettling silence. Every igloo stood intact, eerily preserved as if life had simply paused. Stew was still hot on stone lamps. Rifles hung neatly on driftwood pegs, but there was no one. The only living things were the sled dogs, buried under snowdrifts, starved and frozen to death. And here's the kicker. There were no footprints leading away from the camp. None. It was as if the entire village had simply evaporated. The RCMP opened a file, puzzled, then quietly closed it, citing mass relocation. But does that really make sense? A relocation that left food stores untouched, caribou-skinned garments behind, and, most disturbingly, vital sled dogs to perish? Inuit culture is deeply rooted in hunting and community, with a strong emphasis on sharing food and respecting animals. Abandoning their dogs, which were crucial for survival and travel, would have been unthinkable. Skeptics have suggested seasonal migration, that LaBelle simply stumbled upon an abandoned camp. But the scene he described, hot stew, needles in unfinished garments, speaks of an abrupt, unplanned departure. Inuit elders, however, offer a different explanation, one steeped in their ancient wisdom. They speak of the Tariaksuk, shadow people who mirror human communities. These aren't just ghosts, they're a warning. The folklore says that when a settlement forgets its sacred duties, when it neglects to offer the first slice of every hunt to the land, showing gratitude and respect for nature's bounty, the Tariaksuk become restless. They open a doorway through the lake ice, herding the real village into the underworld. A week later, only shadows remain in the igloos, melting away when the sun finally returns. Oral traditions count 2 previous disappearances from the same lake, once in 1840 and again in 1892. Each time, the Inuit spoke of the same ominous sign, the northern lights turning blood red for 3 consecutive nights. Joe LaBelle, the trapper who discovered the empty village in 1930, swore the sky over Anjikuni was crimson the week he arrived. While some later reports of the Anjikuni mystery were sensationalized, even dismissed as urban legends by the RCMP, the core elements of a vanished village and strange celestial phenomena persist in local storytelling. Perhaps the mass relocation wasn't a choice, but a forced exodus into another realm, a chilling consequence of a forgotten promise to the land. Mystery number 3, Swift Runner and the Windigo. Our final journey takes us to the bitter winter of 1879, near the Saskatchewan River. Here, a Plains Cree hunter named Swift Runner found himself in the grip of a nightmare. By spring, he had done the unthinkable. He had eaten his entire family. At his trial, he claimed starvation, a desperate act born of necessity. But the post-surgeon noted something peculiar. Swift Runner weighed a robust 190 pounds. He was far from emaciated. The court, seeing no other explanation, hanged him for murder. But for the Cree people, this wasn't just a murder case. They understood it differently. They filed the event under Windigo possession.
The Windigo isn't just a scary story. It's a profound, terrifying entity in Algonquin and Cree folklore, a symbol of insatiable hunger and greed, a cautionary tale about the perils of selfishness, especially in the face of scarcity. It's famine frozen into flesh. Tall, gaunt, lips often bloody and chewed, eyes sunk deep like cracked ice, with a heart encased in ice. Once a human resorts to consuming human flesh, the creature is said to crawl inside the ribcage, stretching the heart until the person hungers only for more, transforming them, literally and spiritually, into the Windigo. The winter of 1878-79 was exceptionally harsh, a time of immense misery and starvation for the Cree people. Yet Cree culture, deeply rooted in community and survival, emphasized strict food-sharing laws. Elders taught that food was not just sustenance, it was a spiritual connection to the land, ancestors, and community. Sharing was an unwritten law, a necessity for collective survival. Swift Runner's neighbors told the Mounties that he had openly mocked these fundamental laws all winter, hoarding partridge while others around him starved. This wasn't just poor judgment, it was a profound transgression against his community's values. When searchers later followed Swift Runner's back trail to his winter camp, they found a gruesome scene. Human bones strewn about, snapped and hollow, marrow sucked out, and a pot of human fat. They also found the first kill site arranged in a chilling pattern, the Windigo symbol, sticks broken in sets of 7, pointing north. Even the method of his execution seemed to echo the folklore. Tribal accounts say Windigo victims must hang upside down so the evil spirit drains into the ground. For the RCMP, it was a murderer brought to justice. For the Cree storytellers, it was a stark, enduring warning. Swift Runner's case became a foundational example in the study of Windigo psychosis, a cultural anxiety about cannibalism and selfishness, demonstrating how deep-seated cultural fears can manifest in tragic ways.
These stories, aren't they just incredible? They remind us that Canada's wilderness is vast enough to hide bodies, but perhaps not old stories. Every RCMP file that ends with inconclusive often begins with a campfire somewhere, a whisper of a legend that offers a different kind of truth. The Bushman, or Neneke, still walks Nahanni, a protector of sacred grounds. The Tadiaksuk still skim Anjikuni ice, a chilling reminder of the balance between humanity and nature. And the Windigo still waits on the edge of hunger, a potent warning against greed and isolation. These aren't just quaint folk tales. They are integral parts of Indigenous oral traditions passed down through generations to preserve cultural identity, explain natural phenomena, and impart vital moral lessons about respecting the land, community, and humility. They teach us that there's more to reality than what's written in official reports. So next time a search party turns up nothing, or a mystery goes unsolved, don't just accept the official explanation. Ask yourself who or what turned that nothing into a legend. Because sometimes the most profound answers are found not in facts, but in the echoes of ancient stories. If you're as fascinated as I am by these tales, where the case files and campfire logs brilliantly disagree, make sure to hit that subscribe button. And hey, drop a mystery you want decoded in the comments below. Maybe we'll unravel it together.